Hi, this is Tim from latest3dsgames.com, and this is my fun attempt at looking at all 38 of my games in one video. So it's going to be pretty fast and probably pretty muddled, but here we go. So first of all, we've got The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D. It's great on Nintendo 3DS. It is the best game available that you can get. Brilliantly remade from the Nintendo 64 version. It comes with additional boss mode. It comes with a master quest. The graphics are great. The 3D is brilliant, and it's just a fantastic package. Definitely one of the games to buy. Next we have Star Fox 64 3D, another classic remake from Nintendo 64 days, and again, it's been really well made. The 3D is excellent. The gameplay is excellent. It's a little bit short. It's got good multiplayer, but it's got no online features, which do let it down a little bit, but still definitely worth buying again. Next we have Sports Island 3D, and this is a fun little game. It's got a variety of weird and wacky sports and some more traditional ones like basketball, football, etc. It's not the greatest game you're ever going to get on your Nintendo 3DS, but it's still lots of fun. Again, it's got a multiplayer if you've got a friend around, but it's got no online facility. Not bad, worth a look. And next we have Nintendogs Plus Cats. Now this is obviously from DS days, and it's remade in 3D. The 3D is really excellent, and it brings your cute puppies and kittens to life. Lots of fun, not as in-depth as the DS versions, which lets it down a bit. It's got Street Pass, it's got a few other features as well, and it's definitely worth buying, especially if you've got smaller children who will absolutely love it. Next we have Cave Story 3D. This is a kind of remake of a PC classic, and it's a bit of an old school collect 'em up, shooting up type experience. It's really good, lots of fun. Perhaps if you've played it before you won't want to play it again. It is kind of retro, the music's really good, it's lots of fun. Again, not really much in the way of nothing really on online features. The 3D is really good, definitely one to look at. Maybe if you've played it before you won't want to buy it again. And here we have Tales of the Abyss. This is a remake of the classic PlayStation 2 role-playing game. I've just got it recently. It's a very, very good game. If you've played the original and completed it, you may not want to play this one, but if you haven't, definitely one to put on your list. Great graphics and great 3D, very in-depth, but not too difficult. Lots of fun, lots of battles. Next we've got Super Mario 3D Land, one of the now flagship games for the Nintendo 3DS. It's classic Mario action in great 3D, and it is some of the best 3D you can get on the Nintendo 3DS. Classic platforming action, some really great graphics, some of the best graphics and sound again on the system. It's got no online play. It has got Street Pass and Spot Pass. The only thing it's kind of missing is a bit of longevity. It isn't the longest Mario game ever, and it is a little bit easy, but it's loads of fun and definitely one for you to pick it up. And next we have got PacMan and Gallagher Dimensions. It's a bit of a surprising game. It's 4 games in one, and it's not bad value for money. Definitely one to look out for if you find it in the bargain kind of bucket for not too much money. And it's got classic versions of PacMan and Gallagher. It's also got Gallagher Legions, a very good shoot 'em up, and it's got a new 3D version of a game called PacMan Tilt, which is lots of fun. Not the best game on 3DS, but it is definitely one worth looking at if you can find it cheap enough. Next we have got Rabbids 3D, and it's not traditional Rabbids where you're doing lots of different multiplayer games. It's a platforming adventure set in all different times, medieval, prehistoric, etc. And it's quite a lot of fun. It's got a good sense of humour. It's good fun to play. The 3D is a bit limited. It's not the longest lasting game, and it's certainly not the best game, but it's still good fun nonetheless, and worth looking at again if you can find it cheap enough. Next we have Steel Diver. Now this is a submarine sim, kind of in a sort of 3DS type way. The 3D is not bad in this game, and it's lots of fun to play, but like some other Nintendo 3DS games, it is a bit short-lived. There's not that many missions, and though the graphics and sound are decent enough, they're not spectacular. It's got a couple of different modes and different ways of playing, but it's one to maybe think about again if you can find it cheap enough. Next up we have got the classic Street Fighter 4 3D edition, should I say Super Street Fighter 4, and this is one of the launch games for the Nintendo 3DS, and still one of the best games available, and it's available very cheap in a lot of places now. Probably the best fighting game, or certainly one of the best fighting games on the 3DS, and the graphics are really good. The 3D's not as good as, say, Dead or Alive Dimensions, but it's still effective enough, and it has got the 3D mode as well. There's loads and loads of customization and loads of different options, and the online mode is fantastic. Definitely one to get. Next we have got The Adventures of Tintin, The Secret of the Unicorn. Now this has not been brilliantly received across all more formats, but for the Nintendo 3DS it's a decent enough game. It's lots of fun to play, and it's a good adventure platforming type romp, with you playing as Tintin, also as the captain, and you get to play as Snowy the dog as you go through a bit of a wild adventure. Lots of different types of things to do, from flying a plane to climbing, jumping, running, shooting, punching, exploring, all sorts of things. Graphics are decent enough, and it's a fairly good game, and it is available quite cheaply already, so definitely worth a look. Next up we have got Dead or Alive Dimensions. Now almost equal, I would say, equally as good as Street Fighter 4. It's a different type of, it's more fluid to play. It's got a great online again. Hasn't got as much customization, but I would say the graphics and the 3D are definitely better. The sound's probably better as well, and a great fighting game. It's still near full price in a lot of places, but it's definitely worth buying. Next up we have got Skylanders Spyros Adventure, and this is the one that comes with the Portal of Power and the interactive characters, and it's one of the most surprising games on Nintendo 3DS. It is very good and loads of fun to play, and this version is different to the other console versions. It hasn't got any multiplayer options or any other sort of Street Pass enabled stuff either, but it's a great game, and although it's a little bit expensive, it's pretty long, and you can buy all sorts of different characters and bits and pieces, and I would definitely buy it if you can afford it. Whoops. And next up we have got SpiderMan Edge of Time. Now this is another great game, not the longest game, but the graphics, sound and gameplay are really good. It's very story driven, and it features Batman of the future and the past as you control both versions, and basically what you do in one time zone affects it in the future and in the past, etc. It's a really good game, and one of the best kind of comic book adventure platforming beat 'em up type games available on the Nintendo 3DS. It's definitely worth a look, and I would look at buying it if you can afford it again. Next up we have got Thor God of Thunder. Not very well received on other formats, but this is probably the best version of Thor on the Nintendo 3DS, and it's a pretty good game. Lots of fun to play, a little bit resembling a sort of cut down version of God of War, in a sort of cheaper way, if you like. The graphics aren't anywhere near as good, and it's just some of the things that you do in the game will remind you of that one. Lots of fun to play as you play as God of Thunder Thor, and you get to control lightning and the weather, etc. It's a good game, but not the best game on 3DS, but definitely one to look at if you can find it cheap enough. Next we have got the newly released Harry Potter Years 5 to 7 on Nintendo 3DS, and this is one of the 3 Lego games available for Nintendo 3DS, and probably the best one. Features obviously scenes and characters from Years 5 to 7, and there's lots to do, The 3D's a bit limited, but the graphics and sound are really good. The cutscenes are a little bit grainy, but fun enough. And it's a very good game. One of the best Lego games around, and certainly I think the best Lego game on Nintendo 3DS. A recommended buy as well. Next up we have got Puzzle Bobble Universe, and this is a puzzle game, obviously, as you get to pop the bubbles, and it's good fun to play. It's very easy, it's quite addictive. Not the best game again on 3DS. The 3D's limited, the sound's quite cutesy, the graphics quite cutesy, still lots of fun, and again it is available very cheaply in a lot of shops, so definitely worth buying, because you'll find it, you know, fairly cheaply anywhere you go. Next up we have got another Lego game. We've got Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, and again it's another very good game. A little bit easy, slightly easier I would say than Harry Potter. Again, it features all scenes from the different Pirates games, and it's, you know, you'll remember a lot of them. Graphics and sound are really good, especially the sound. It's got all the familiar soundtrack. 3D again is a little bit limited, but they pretty well are in all the Lego games, but it's effective enough. Lots of fun to play as you play with all your different characters, and definitely another one to buy, I would say. Now we have got, next up, probably still just about the best racing game on the Nintendo 3DS. It's Ridge Racer. It's great fun to play. There's lots of options and choices, and no online mode, but the graphics are fairly decent. The 3D's pretty good, although it can be a little bit distracting at times going around the tracks. But it's a very good game, but it is lacking the online options that would have made it, you know, really good. Definitely worth getting, as again you can get it fairly cheaply. Next up we have Need for Speed The Run, just come out for Nintendo 3DS. It's not as good as I initially thought. It's a little bit ropey in places. The graphics aren't that great. Some of the cars look a bit iffy. It's fun enough to play, and it's got a fairly good storyline. There's other little bits to do with the stylus in between the cutscenes, and the 3D's not bad at all. Great fun to play for short periods, but not the best racing game, and not quite as good as Ridge Racer 3D, unfortunately. And it's more similar, a bit of a cross between a racing game and Driver Renegade. One to maybe think about if you can find it cheap. Next up we've got Shinobi, fairly new out on the Nintendo 3DS. It's a scrolling ninja, slash 'em up, beat 'em up, adventure style game, and it's real arcade style. Loads of fun to play. It's not that easy, even for a sort of more skilled player than myself. The graphics are pretty decent without being spectacular. The 3D's a little bit limited, but looks okay in places. Music's very, very good, and it's definitely one to have a look at, although I would be tempted to wait until you can find the price dropping a bit. And here we have the next one, Driver Renegade 3D. This is a kind of smash crash game where you race around doing different missions and stopping cars, crashing into cars, taking them out, and lots of cutscenes, a fair amount of swearing in it, pretty unnecessary at times to be honest. It's fun enough, the graphics are okay-ish, the 3D's not bad either, music and sounds are pretty decent enough. Not the greatest game ever, but it's okay, and it is available fairly cheaply, so again it's worth a look when you can find it for a good price. And next up we have an interesting game, and it is Ultimate Bass Fishing 3D. It is lots of fun to play, and it's quite relaxing. There's loads to it, there's loads of different lures and different places to go and fish, and you can obviously make your own angler to kind of semi-resemble yourself. It's good fun to play, and it's certainly good fun when you're hooking fish and catching them, and it's quite tactical as well, using different lures, etc. So a good one to maybe look at. Again, I wouldn't be tempted to pay full price, look out for a cheaper price. Okay, and we have got next, I'm trying to hurry myself up now, Generator X, Agent of Providence. This is like a little bit like Green Lantern. It's a Cartoon Network series. It's a scrolling up scrolling kind of run around smashing things up, and it's got a bit of a okay storyline. The graphics are okay, the sound's okay, the 3D's okay, but that's pretty much the problem with it. It's just okay. There's lots of power-ups and things to do, but it's just a bit boring. So again, I would, you know, think about it if you can find it cheaply. Next up we have got Naruto Shiftin, the new era, and this is a more interesting game. Naruto is a very popular character, and it's a decent enough game, and it's been around for a while in the UK, not out in the US yet. Definitely worth a look, although it is a bit of a 1, 2, 3 button type side-scrolling slash 'em up affair, and beating the bosses can be a bit of a pain, so you do tend to have to use the same moves a lot. Still fun to play, and if you're a Naruto fan, you'll probably want to have a look at it. Next up we have got the last Lego game on Nintendo 3DS. We've got Star Wars 3 and the Clone Wars. It doesn't resemble the series entirely. It's got a kind of strange sort of different storyline. It's got bits and pieces you'll certainly be familiar with, but it's not true to the Clone Wars series exactly. The Lego graphics are excellent as usual, and it's loads of fun to play, as you would expect with a Lego game. It's nearly on a par, I would say, with Pirates of the Caribbean, and there's lots to do, and it's definitely worth a look, and it is available cheaply at various times of the year, so one to look at. Next up we have got Rayman 3D, the classic Rayman 3D game, obviously, on Nintendo 3DS. It does look very good in 3D, and it is still a very good game, but of course it's been out for a long time on different formats. Doesn't really offer anything new other than the 3D graphics, and the sound's kind of been tuned a tiny bit, but you'd hardly notice. So if you've never played it before, it's definitely worth getting, because you'll be able to find it cheaply. If you've played it before, then I would probably not bother again. So we have got FIFA 12 next. It's a very good football game. It's not as good as I originally thought. The graphics are a little bit ropey in places. It's still lots of fun to play with your mate, and it's got lots of features, build a team, you play in different leagues, etc. And the sound and graphics, etc. are decent enough. I would, again, maybe wait for a decent price on it, and it'll be available shortly at a lower price, I'm sure. Next up we have got Ghost Recon Shadow Wars. This is one of my sort of top games really for Nintendo 3DS, and I've hardly played it, which is a real shame. It's a strategy type game, and it's got loads of different features, and it is, as you can see, we'll have a quick look on the back on this one actually. It's a kind of top-down strategy game as you command your units around the place basically, and as you can tell, I've hardly played it, but it is a really good game, and it's certainly one of the best games on the Nintendo 3DS. It's got different classes and all sorts of different strategies, etc. that you can use. Definitely one to look out for, and it's again available cheaply. Next up we have got Tetris, and this is the classic Tetris game brought back into 3D. It's got lots of different modes, and it's got quite a unique AR mode which you can use obviously with your AR card. It's good fun to play with the different modes. You can have yourself dancing at the bottom of the screen as well. The music's decent enough. It's just Tetris really, and it's available fairly cheaply, so it's definitely worth a look. Next up we have Chronicles Samurai Warriors on Nintendo 3DS, and this is another early Nintendo 3DS game, and it's a kind of slash 'em up, beat 'em up type game with different missions as you're running around the place like a loony and trying to kill all the different soldiers in different places all at the same time. And it is quite a nice game, to be honest. It's one of the better early games for Nintendo 3DS, and I would definitely give it a look if you can. It's available cheaply in some places, but it can be quite hard to find. Next up we have got the rather quirky Cubic Ninja, available cheaply, so it's definitely worth a look, but it is rather easy. It's good fun to play, it's quite quirky, it's got a build your own levels section, the music's quite funky, and it's definitely worth a look, but I would pick it up quite cheaply if you can, and you should be able to. Next up, and we're getting to the end now, we have got Green Lantern, and this is another comic book type games, scrolling, flying, power-ups, all sorts of things to do with the Green Lantern film, of course. It's just a bit boring, to be honest. The sound and graphics are decent enough. It's just not the best game out, and again, if you can find it cheaply, it's worth a look, but it's not one you're going to put on your top of your list. Next up, we have got Resident Evil Mercenaries 3D. Still one of the best games on Nintendo 3DS. Everyone's complaining because it's a cut down version of the additional missions that you get on the Resident Evil games, but it is still loads of fun, and it's got one of the best online games available on Nintendo 3DS. Definitely worth having a look at. The graphics are really great, and the gameplay is loads of fun. Lots of people complain about the save option, but you'll just have to get used to it. Worth picking up for sure. Nearly at the end now, we've got Asphalt 3D. It's a racing game, and it's one of the early ones. It's not great, it's fun enough. There's lots of different vehicles. It plays similar to Driver, Renegade and Need for Speed, to be honest, just with worse graphics. It's okay, there's nothing wrong with it really, it's just not that great. You can pick it up cheaply enough though, so you might want to take a look at it. And then we have got second to last, Pilotwings Resort. An old Nintendo 64 classic brought back to life in 3D. Lots of different missions. You can have yourself in it, of course, as your own me, and you get to fly in a plane, hang glider, etc. Lots of fun to play. Can be a little bit boring and repetitive, and once you've completed all the missions, although you can play it again and try and beat your score, it's not that much fun. But it's available cheaply enough, so it's definitely worth a look. And finally, we have got to the last game, and it happens to be one of the latest ones I've got. It's Dr. Lorek and the Forgotten Knights. Haven't had a chance to play it that much, but I can tell you it is a very good game. It's obviously a bit like the Professor Layton series, and everyone's complaining about that already, even though they've probably not played this. It's got loads of puzzles in, and it's got your usual assistant. It's also got a kind of quirky kind of RPG type element to it as well, and it's definitely worth looking out and buying this one. I think it's not too difficult, but it's not too easy either, and it's got great graphics and sound, although some of the in-game graphics are a little bit ropey in the kind of exploring sections. Still definitely worth getting. So that's the end of my 38 game mini review, and this has been Tim at latest3dsgames.com. Thanks. And sneaking in at the last minute is Mario Kart 7, which I've just bought very recently, and it is definitely the best racing game that you can get on Nintendo 3DS, and certainly one of the best titles available. Fully online compatible, loads of different modes available online, and it's got a whole host of new courses as well as some familiar ones. All your familiar characters are there, again some new ones included, and also you've got customizable karts on there as well, and you've also got things like the hang glider as well. So this is definitely one to look out for, and obviously it's going to be a big seller, and it's one of the best games available. Graphics are really good, the sound's great and typical of Mario games, and of course the online compatibility's there as well, which is really great news because it's been missing on a lot of 3DS games. And lastly, the 3D is definitely the best again on any racing